Hey all, Ryan here for Planetary Lapidary, and welcome to the first episode of Slabs to Cabs, where I take slabs that I get from rocks that I find on the western shore of Lake Michigan and turn them into stuff like this. So today is going to be a little longer episode because I'm going to show you guys exactly my process, the whole thing from start to finish, what I do to turn a slab into a cab. And I'm not really doing any freeform cabs right now. I do have settings that I buy, and then I, cut the rocks to fit those settings. So there's, a couple examples there of stuff you can see. So I'll show you guys exactly what I'm doing, and hopefully that'll help you guys, maybe if you're new to this or anything, it'll help you, get started. So first off, we have to pick a slab. I think I'm going to do this guy today. So I'll show you what we got here. Let me get these out of the way. So we're going to go with this guy here. Get some light. So it's just kind of like a brecciated, I don't know, granitoid of some type probably. There's hopefully this is just quartz and not calcite in here. Then we got some red going on and some pink. So the first thing we have to do is decide what we want the face of this thing to look like. So I'm going to make this one into a 30 millimeter. So I'm going to make it fit this setting. So I want to decide which part I want the face to be. So this side's really cool with that line coming through. That side would probably be pretty cool with the white though too. Okay, so we're going to do this side. So I want this to be the top so I can maybe try to get that big red line in there. So I'm going to dry this off, and then I have a 30 millimeter form. It's this right here. It's actually just a stand for a sphere, and actually this bottom ring is actually 30 millimeters. So all I got to do is get my, it's kind of dark over here, get my little thin line Sharpie, and we're just going to trace right on this thing. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, so this was the face I wanted with the big black line on it, which means the side I'm going to dop, which is a step later, is going to have to be the other side. So I want to flip this thing over, and that's where I want to put my form. So kind of right in the middle it was. I might waste a little bit of rock on this one, but just to get that line in there, I'm going to do that. Then I have a thin line Sharpie, and I basically just go right around the thing. I try to make the line as dark and even as I can, and you'll see why, in the later steps. Okay, so that should do it. So now I got my form on here of, like kind of what my preform's gonna look like. So now all I got to do is get my trim saw set up and trim off these edges. So let's do that. Okay, so we are all set up. I do keep an old blade for when I trim down edges off like this. So this is an old thin sintered blade that kind of got the little bow in it. So I don't really use it to cut anymore, but I use it to cut the edges of this stuff off because they don't really have to be super clean because we're going to get to the flat lap after this. So let's get it fired up and get these edges off, and I'll show you what it looks like after. Okay, so here's what it looks like just after I trimmed off all the edges. And that's a little bit much. I could get a little closer than that, but I just like taking the rest off on the flat lap. So let's get the flat lap set up, and we'll show you the next step. And this is where I might do this a little differently than other people. Some people might, put a drop stick on this right now and take these edges off on the flat lap when the stick's on there. But I like doing it with my fingers just by hand so I can eyeball it. And I'm actually making this to fit into a setting. So if I use the flat lap now with my fingers, I can shape this thing all the way down so it fits right into the setting right now, instead of, kind of guessing at it when the stick is attached to it. So let's get the flat lap set up and we'll show you the next step. Okay, so we got the flat lap set up. I'm going to start with the 100 grit. I don't really go lower than that because I don't want to get chunks out of this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind off all the way to the black line and then just take the black line off itself. So I feel like I have more control doing it with my fingers, being able to look at it this way rather than having the dop stick on it now. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind that down until it fits into this setting, and then we'll go on to the next step. So let's get to it. Okay, so we're done with the 100. So I have this thing now, so it sits in this setting and you can just barely turn it inside of there. So it's perfectly fitting because you're gonna lose just a little bit of edge in the next step, which is gonna be the dopping. So let me get my dop station set up and we'll get on to the next step. Okay, so on to the next step. We have the stone that fits into the setting here. So now we need to shape the top of this, and obviously I can't hold it with my fingers like this and shape it. So what we need to do is we need to dop it. So what dopping is it's taking a stick and using wax and attaching it to the back of this stone so I can actually hang on to it and actually shape it and have something to hang on to. So what we want to do first is we want to heat up our dop station. This is a high-tech dop station. I think it's like an all-in-one. It comes with wax, it comes with sticks even, and it's really inexpensive. I've really never needed anything other than this. So check that out if you need a nice, handy, cheap dop station. And what you want to do is you want to have the stone heated up and the wax heated up. So what I usually do is I turn my dop station on for about 22 minutes so the wax gets to a good consistency, and then I'll set a timer usually, and I'll put the side of the stone that I'm going to put the stick on onto the rim here, because the rim of this is super hot. So if you heat up the stone, then the wax has an easier time adhering to the stone. So I'll let this heat up a little bit, and then what I'm going to just do is just take a nice glob of this. You can kind of see the consistency. It's a little kind of gritty, pasty kind of, and I kind of just go around it so it adheres to the stick on all the sides, and then I get a nice glob on the end, and I kind of start doing this with it, and then I'll put it right over the flame over here, over the candle, and flip my stone back over until this is about a drip, and then I'll put it right on there. And you want to hold it for at least a good 20 to 30 seconds, just so that middle, you know, where it adheres there wants to get on the stone there and is really solid. So then what I'll do is I'll take this knife, make sure I'm kind of in the middle there. I'll just push down and I'll kind of go all around the edges of this thing, and the cold from the knife will like almost immediately make the wax a little harder. So then I just go all the way around it. So it's a nice flat surface. Now all I have to do is just let this sit, you know, probably for about 5 or 10 minutes or something. And then it won't come off of there then, it'll be stuck to there. I've never had one come off, and this is exactly how I've done it every single time. So I'm gonna let this cool off for just a little bit, and then we'll get on to the next step, back to the flat lap. Okay, so now this is what we came up with. I tested it, it's definitely not coming off of there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it with the 100 grit first, and I'm gonna take the top off. You know, sometimes the slabs aren't exactly the same width. This one's just a hair off right there, I can see. So I'll flatten that out, and then I'll take off this initial edge right here, kind of just like this. And get off as much as I can and get as close to this as I can without actually hitting this edge yet. I'm gonna do all that with the 180 grit after this. The 180 is the one I use the most. This is probably the second most one. The 100 grit just to get it shaped down to the shape, and then the 180 just to finish it off before the polishing discs. So let's get set up and we'll get going. Okay, so we are through all the discs, so what we need to do now is we need to just stick this whole thing in the freezer for about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not gonna show you the top right now, but I'm gonna show you this side. It's got this fracture right here going through it. So when I take it off of here, I'm gonna have to make sure to take it off of this side so it doesn't crack that piece off. But I'm gonna go throw this in the freezer for a couple minutes, and we'll be right back to set it in the setting. Okay, so this has been in the freezer for about 10 minutes. So I want to find where that crack is. Okay, right there. So I want to pop it off from this side. You can see it just comes right off after it was in the freezer for about 10 minutes. And I always just look to see on here to make sure that none of the wax stayed, you know, attached to the stone. If not, I just get like a microfiber cloth, clean it up nice. All right, let's see what we got. So this is what we ended up with. We did get one little pitty material right there in the middle, but I like how it turned out. Red and white and some pink on the edges. So now all we gotta do, make sure this guy fits in our setting, which it does. And just put a dab of glue and we can glue it right in. Right like that, I think. All right. So I'm going to glue it after because I want to let it cool down a little bit, but that's what we ended up with from that slab at the beginning. I think it turned out really cool. It's got some maybe little hematite flakes in there. It is a little dusky material. It might have been some mudstone or something, but I like how it turned out. So all right, if you like this video, leave a like, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Join us every Monday from now on for new episodes of Slab to Cabs, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.